Hey, everybody. I am here with Jay Baer, New York Times best-selling author of utility, and his new book, which is what we're here to talk about, Hug Your Haters. Hug Your Haters. Exactly. So Jay Baer of Convince and Convert, how are you, my friend?
I am spectacular. I'm living the dream, Mr. Newman, and any day that I get to talk to you is a day worth living.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, so I was in a very special and privileged position because I heard, I think it was the global debut of your Hug Your Haters keynote speech at Social Media Marketing World 2015. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was almost exactly a year ago. It was last April.
Almost exactly a year ago. And so tell us about how, because everyone knows you as the content marketing digital media rock star. ConvinceandConvert.com, world's #1 content marketing blog. You are just rocking and rolling in the world of digital marketing, Social Pros podcast. You've got all kinds of crazy stuff going on, a one-man media empire. Although you've told me before that you have help, so it's not really.
Yeah, there's lots of elves. It's not a one-man empire.
Exactly.
We're doing like 6 podcasts a week now. It ain't all me, that's for sure.
You've got your team of invisible minions behind the scenes. But tell us about the transition from social media digital marketing guru to now Hug Your Haters and customer service innovation rock star.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't really set out to go that direction, but in our consulting practice, we kept getting all these questions about, well, how do we balance social media marketing with social media customer service? Or how do we balance social media customer service with traditional customer service? All these kind of questions. And I started to sort of pull the thread on that sweater, and I realized, David, that customer service is being disrupted in the exact same ways that marketing has been disrupted, and for the same reasons. It's mobile, social media, millennial culture, consumer behavior changes. It's the exact same movie that we've seen for marketing now applied to customer service. And I started to realize, my God, there's 500 books or more about marketing disruption, including some by you and I. There's approximately 0 books on customer service disruption. Maybe I should write one. I think and I say this as a marketing consultant, I think we probably put too much time and effort into customer acquisition and not enough time and effort on customer retention.
Oh, and there's a great chart in here. I mean, towards the back of the book, I'm going to hold this up because it's so stunning. And you know, I know you know the numbers off the top of your head, but let me pull up the visual on this. This is just stunning to me. And you even say that this is common sense. Everyone knows that it costs more to get a customer than to keep a customer, but you'd never know it by the investment. And where's that cute little pie chart? Is it here? Yeah. Oh my God. Right. So $500 billion versus so $500 billion on marketing, $9 billion on customer service.
Yeah.
And it's something like a 10-to-1 return on your customer service dollar. And it's really hard. It's increasingly hard to get a return on the marketing dollar.
That's right. And you know, what's amazing? Look at that
little pie slice. Look at the little
crazy. It's like 2%.
Sliver.
It's like 2%. Well, and look, business has had it really easy for centuries because almost every interaction with customers has been in private, whether it's face-to-face or a letter or a fax or a phone call or an email. Now, an increasing share of customer interactions, both good and bad, are in public. Customer service is a spectator sport now. Not only does that change the fundamental power of your customers, but it changes the underlying economics of customer service and how it applies to your business. If you kind of look at this from a Freakonomics perspective, right? Forever, there was really no economic incentive to be great at customer service. Because if you were great at customer service in a purely private environment, which has been how it's been for a long time, what's the best that happens? You delight a customer in a face-to-face interaction. You send them a really nice letter, and they tell the 10 people that they know at church. Well, that's good, but is that going to build your business? Nah, probably not. And by the same token, there was no economic disincentive to be terrible at customer service. Because if you send that person no letter or you're mean to them in person, they're going to tell the 10 people they know at church that you suck. And so that's going to be a very small revenue impact. Now, however, that all these customer exchanges are happening out in the open, there are fundamental economic impacts and economic rationale to be both great at customer service and to not be terrible at it. That's why I say in the book that customer service is the new marketing. It very much is a way that you can stand out and say, look, this is going to be how we're different from our competitors that sell fundamentally the same things. We're just going to take care of our customers more. And there's lots of examples in the book, of course, of companies who have said, we're going to embrace that. This is going to be our thing.
Yeah, very much so. Well, and there's so many great things when you speak, when you consult, certainly all the great stories that are in here. I want to have you just repeat one of the stories because it's so iconic and it's so important, and a lot of companies would totally miss the clue here. Talk about the KLM volcano story and how that was such a wake-up call for them.
It is one of my favorites, and thank you. I mean, we did a lot of research to come up with case studies that are not the same old customer service stories, and that also, I think, appeal to businesses of all shapes and sizes. There's lots of small business examples in there, enterprise examples, US and global, B2B, B2C. We really tried to kind of quadrant out the examples to make it relevant to everyone. And of course, there's tons of research in this book. This is not a usual business book like I have written in the past, which is advice and anecdote. Jay says do this, so do it.
Right.
There's a massive amount of research that support these conclusions, which you have to have in customer service, David, because most people think, why would I need a customer service book? I know how to do customer service. And then you read the book, you're like, I don't think I'm as good at this as I thought. Right. And you'll get to about page 25, you're like, oh no. So KLM, I think, is a shining light on the hill. They are the Royal Dutch Airlines. They're based in Amsterdam. They're a Delta partner. So if you fly overseas and you're a Delta flyer, you might typically be on KLM. They have a lot of flights that go, say, from Warsaw to Amsterdam to somewhere else. They're sort of that hub airline. And about 5 years ago, you may remember they had this enormous volcano in Iceland. And I will not try to pronounce the volcano's name. My Icelandic is rusty at best. But it was such an enormous volcano, this ash cloud grounded all the flights in Europe. Like nobody could fly anywhere, which is really, think about it, like, wow, that's crazy. And so KLM, like all airlines in continental Europe, had thousands and thousands and thousands of passengers stranded. And so they had this like tsunami of customer contact and complaint, like, how do I get to Warsaw? How do I get out of Warsaw, etc. So they had an emergency staff meeting and said, okay, we got two choices here. We can either triage this and answer the people who have the most KLM frequent flyer miles or have the most acute problem, and we'll kind of try and take these in order, or we can just figure out a way to answer everybody. But let's remember, if we opt for the latter, if we answer everybody, we can never go back. The genie can never go back in the bottle, because you can't very well say to your customers down the road, hey, here's our thing. We deliver great customer service during times of volcano. Right? Otherwise we're okay. But during volcano, we really step up. You can't do that. Like, you can't run a business like that. So it was a real important decision. And they said, you know what? Screw it. Let's just answer everybody. So luckily they had the labor at hand, because pilots couldn't fly and flight attendants couldn't attend and baggage handlers couldn't handle. So they had all these extra people. They just got a bunch of card tables, literally card tables and laptops, and said, just go. Click, 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 answered everybody. And that was the genesis of the program that they still run today, which is, I think, the best in the world. They have 150 full-time people who only do social media customer service. They answer 24 hours a day. They answer in 14 languages, and typically within 20 minutes or so. So if you tweet them at 3 a.m. in Turkish, they'll be back to you by 3:19 in Turkish. Last year, David, 2015, they sold $25 million worth of airline tickets. Now, this is a customer service group. This is not a sales group. This is not intentionally a revenue producing group, but sort of on accident, they sold $25 million because they're just, they're talking to people on Twitter and Facebook. Oh, you need a link. Here's a link to this flight. So it's revenue positive.
Yeah.
By embracing the principles of Hug Your Haters, which is to answer every customer in every place, every time.
Right. And you have some really fabulous sound bites that you reinforce in the book over and over and over again. And one of them is respond to every complaint, every channel, every time. Yep. And the other one that's really sort of the premise of the whole book is that haters are not your problem. Ignoring them is. Yep. Right? Yeah. So there are, in your research, did you find companies that, unlike KLM, which was, I think the insight with the KLM story is once we go here, we can never go back. Did you uncover any situation where there was some crisis or some emergency or some situation, and the company then did go back to business as usual?
Well, I think there's lots of companies that, and I wrote about this actually a long time ago in my first book, The Now Revolution, I did a lot of work in that book about social media crisis management. There's a lot of companies now who have a crisis plan. And so when things become disordinary and there's for some reason something that raises the level of complaint or contact or issues, that they have trained and they have a process to say, okay, let's handle this. And then they go back, they flex back down to regular. And that doesn't mean that they change sort of their cultural embrace of customers, but they definitely do have a crisis plan and scenario modeling, which you absolutely should do. Every company should, of any size, because you don't know. I mean, as I said in that book, the reason they call it a crisis is that you didn't see it coming, right? If you knew it was going to happen, it wouldn't be a crisis by definition. And so people say, well, I don't need a crisis plan. It's like, well, yeah, you don't know when it's going to happen. That's the whole point, right? So there's a lot of interesting data around this notion that haters are not your problem, ignoring them is. And that's really one of the key principles in the book that we researched, which was that when you answer a customer complaint, it increases advocacy by up to 25%. And that's true in every channel, every time. It takes a bad situation and makes it better. If you don't answer a complaint, it decreases customer advocacy by as much as 59%, I think it is. It takes a bad situation, it makes it worse. And so this idea, and small business is so guilty of this idea that we're going to strategically, purposefully just ignore customers. Well, we don't participate in Yelp, or we don't answer customers on TripAdvisor, or we don't worry about our Facebook reviews, or whatever your own sort of narrative is. And I hear it every single day. It is plumb crazy, because no response is a response. It's a response that says, we don't care about you as a customer at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And in public, lots of people see that, right? So it's not just that you're dismissing that customer and they feel dismissed. It's the fact that tens or hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people will eventually see this dismissal. And you would never do that in the real world. You would never say, well, we choose to strategically not answer the telephone. You would never even think of that. But online, you're like, nah, we don't worry about it. Like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I want to ask you a couple of other questions, because that, KLM is a big giant company story. Fresh Brothers Pizza.
Love those guys.
Is that right? Fresh?
Yes, Fresh Brothers. Yeah. Yep.
So again, super dedicated, small business, small pizza chain. Their policy is to really embrace the hug your haters philosophy, good, bad, or otherwise. They thank, they apologize. So my first question is, because there's something that struck me that this is kind of challenging. If someone just really hates your pizza, and it's not it's bad pizza, it's not to their taste. Sure. And they say, oh, the pizza was terrible. It was too much sauce. It was too much cheese. By the way, my wife is all about the sauce. I am all about the cheese. And there are sauce-focused pizzas and there are cheese-focused pizzas, and some have a nice little balance. But if they just say, fundamentally, I don't like books that are blue. I don't like books that are blue, Jay.
Yep.
So what do you do when it's not like, well, this company sucks or I was treated badly, but when there's a fundamental disagreement, just like Seth Godin says, you have to bake the marketing into the product.
That's right.
And if we do a good job of that, people that fundamentally don't like our product might choose to complain. Is there any difference now how you handle that, or what do you do with that?
Well, I think you always, again, you want to answer everybody because you want to give that person a chance. And so the way Debbie handles it, Debbie Goldberg, who owns Fresh Brothers, is if somebody complains, in many cases, she'll say, hey, we're terribly sorry we disappointed you. Could we send you a gift card and maybe you could give us another try? Which is great. It's brilliant. And it has a huge impact on sort of her audience. Now, if somebody's just like, look, I just don't like your pizza, it's not my style.
Right.
You probably wouldn't offer them a bounce back like that, because it's, if you don't like it this time, you're probably not gonna like it next time. It's not it was too busy or it was dirty or the bathrooms weren't clean or whatever your other drama might be. Right. It's just, I don't like your kind of pizza. I think what I would still do in that experience is answer and say, yeah, our recipes are based on this, 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 and this. It was my great grandmother's from Sicily, and that's how we cook pizza, and that's our story. Now, we recognize that other people may like a different kind of pizza. If you'd like some recommendations of other chains in the area that are that style, just send me a private message. I'd be happy to help you. Now, are you going to keep that customer? Probably not. But everybody who sees that review for the next 5 years is going to be like, holy cow, these guys are amazing.
Absolutely. Well,
it's a spectator sport. It's a spectator sport. The money is in the audience, not in the spectator.
That's the key. That's one of the key frameworks in the book, is that customer service is now a spectator sport. So yes, you want to handle that customer, right? But it's also, how does it look like you're handling your customers?
You're talking to a much larger group. Imagine, just metaphorically, imagine that every time you answer a customer on social media or on the internet, you're actually speaking out of a megaphone. Because that's really how it's working, right? You're not just, it's not just the person in earshot, it's the whole neighborhood.
Yeah. Similar to this, I know, because you and I are both sort of in the book author business. You tell the great story in here about Dave Kirpin and the way that Dave responds to 1- and 2-star Amazon book reviews of his books. Talk about that and how we can embrace some of that same philosophy.
Dave's a terrific author. In fact, his new book comes out, I think it came out 2 days ago, actually. It's maybe it's next Tuesday. The Art of People. Terrific book. It's sort of a new take on how to win friends and influence people. You'll love it. I really recommend it. Dave Kirpin, Art of People. It's a really excellent book.
Awesome.
So Dave has written 3 books in the past, I think. Likeable Social Media, Likeable Business, and the third one. And so he does a great thing on Amazon. So when people give him a 1-star review, which doesn't happen a lot, but it happens to everybody. I've certainly gotten 2 or 3 1-star reviews. And sometimes there's like somebody who's never read the book. Obviously, it's like some crackpot. But he says a great thing, which I've now adopted myself. He says, "Hey, I'm terribly sorry the book didn't meet your expectations. Please send me a message. I'll be happy to buy you any book that you like on Amazon. I'm sorry I wasted your money." Right? And when people see that, they're like, wow, this guy stands behind it, right? And I've said that in all the emails or many of the emails that I've sent to buyers of Hug Your Haters, and I mean it. I'm like, if you get this book and you don't like it, send me a note. I'll be happy to give you your money back.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Absolutely. So let's talk about
socks.
I love haters socks. And let's talk about, hey, there you go. Let's talk about how I got a pair and how our viewers might still be able to get a pair. Is this still available?
Yes. Go to hugyourhaters.com. We talk about it there. Buy a few books for your team, for your clients, for your associates. Look, anybody who has customers is going to learn a lot from this book. I can tell you that firsthand. And as I said, if you don't like the book, let me know. I'll give you your money back. No questions asked. Buy a few copies for people that you know. Give it to them. They will treasure it. Send me your receipt, and I will send you, friends, I Love Hater Socks. There's also a bunch of other stuff. There's an amazing Facebook group that we've got started called the Hug Your Haters Facebook group, which has got 300 people in it already. And it is already the definitive place on the internet to talk about customer service and customer experience issues. It is blowing up, an amazing group, incredibly useful, lots of great tips and tricks there. Yeah. So there's all kinds of cool stuff that I'll send you. Just go to hugyourhaters.com, buy some books, send me your receipt via email, and I'll hook you right up. See, look at that. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Christmas is coming.
Multiple books, people.
Easter. Makes a terrific Easter gift.
This is it. But that's seriously.
That's why the book is a pastel shade on the cover, because it's sort of a perfect Easter gift.
Yeah, very nice. It's Robin's Egg Blue. Robin's Egg Blue, my friends. Right. Stock up now. And get like a big giant plastic egg and stick one in there.
I should have done that.
Tell us about what you have planned for the future of the Hug Your Haters movement. And then also, before we get to that, the Hatrix.
The Hatrix. Yeah, look at this.
Talk about on stage and off stage and how that works, and then how that ties into the Hatrix. And yes, it's in every book.
David has a loose leaf Hatrix, but there's a poster in every book. Every book includes a poster called the Hatrix.
But if you buy them in multiples, Jay will sign your custom Hatrix.
I will do it. Just like that. So the Hatrix summarizes all the research that we did for the book. Who complains and where and why and under what circumstances. And then what happens if you answer or don't answer customers in particular channels, phone, email, social media, what have you. What I found in the research that I did with Edison, big research organization, is that there's actually 2 totally separate types of haters based on which channel they use to complain. So you've got off-stage haters, and I call them that because they complain in private, and they use telephone and email. And they are slightly older, slightly less social media savvy, but those demographic differences aren't terribly acute. The other group are the on-stage haters who complain in public, right? They complain Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Yelp, TripAdvisor, or whatever review sites matter in your industry, and discussion boards and forums. So slight demographic differences, but the big difference between those two is what they expect. So if you complain on the phone or email, you expect a response 90% of the time. You expect, and that's, I'm sure, true in your life, David, and true for everybody. If you email a business, you're like, well, yeah, they're going to email me back.
I sure hope so.
Like, it's the social contract, right? It's sort of how business has evolved over the last 20 years. And so when you get an email back, you're not like, woo, you're not high-fiving. You're like, well, yeah, of course they sent me an email back. So you have to hug those offstage haters, because if you don't answer an email or you don't return a phone call, the negative impact is considerable. The positive impact is minor because we just expect it now. On the other side, though, this is where the real opportunity is for small business in particular. The onstage haters, people who complain in social media review sites, they don't necessarily expect a reply. Only a little less than half of the time do they even expect a business to get back to them. What they usually want is not an answer, they want an audience. And what they want is all their friends on Facebook, for example, to say, oh, that totally sucks. I'm so sorry that happened to you. They want this like group empathy swell. And so they're not really even anticipating businesses to reply, frankly, because most businesses don't. So if you can find those kind of complaints and then jump in there and say, hey, I understand you've got a problem. How can we help you? The impact on that customer's advocacy and loyalty is like unbelievable. It blows their minds and steals their hearts. Right. So that's the real the real key piece for small business is to answer the people who aren't necessarily complaining directly, but are complaining indirectly. That is a huge, huge opportunity.
Fantastic. Now I want to ask you, what are the future plans for the Hug Your Haters movement and community? Because you dropped a couple hints towards the back of the book. We're going to have Hug Your Hater academies. We're going to have groups. We're going to have meetups. This is really a movement that you've rallied around these ideas because they're so important to business success. What's in the hopper? What's coming down the pike?
So first, I'm going to take a little sleep. I'm going to take a little nap.
Good idea.
But doing lots of speaking about the book, of course. The Facebook group is off and running. We're going to start to slowly expand the membership of the Facebook group. We have a Hug Your Haters, How to Keep Your Customers course, which will be rolling out pretty soon. And it's a 7-module, 55 videos, like a serious big course. That's going to roll out in about 6 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that. Then the next piece, we think we're going to start to do regional Hug Your Haters events and actually go around the country and bring small business people primarily together to talk about customer service issues and how this really works in practice, and kind of workshops and specific examples and all those kind of things. That's the first foray into all that.
Very cool. And possibly a Hug Your Haters conference for the big companies?
Possibly. You know, I have thought about doing an event for a really long time, and I think we could probably do a good one, but man, it is so all-encompassing to do a big event like that. It's essentially like a book launch, and it requires you to sort of put a lot of your other business on the second burner for a while, and I just don't know. I mean, I would love to do it, but I don't know. It scares me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So in order for you not to be scared watching this at home, you got to get your copy of Hug Your Haters right here, right now.
I'll give you your money back.
Highly recommended.
Risk-free, baby.
That's it. And if you want the socks, if you want the signed copy of the Matrix.
True story. I've only got 7 pairs of socks left, okay?
7 socks, people. Yeah, buy 10 books, right? 10 books like I did?
I think it's 7 books for socks.
Okay.
And I only got like 7 pairs left, and then I got to reorder them, and they're out of this. So I can't, there's no more like this. We have to have custom order one.
I have a first edition?
You do. So the new ones I think are actually going to say Hug Your Haters. And what we're going to try to do is use our logo here, our special mark on the sock. So we actually, the things that I get involved in. So today I'm doing sock design, so like that, I didn't go to school for that. So, you get into the book thing and all kinds of stuff happens,
All kinds of stuff. All right, fantastic. So, Jay Baer, tell us how people can stay connected to you and your empire and the Hug Your Haters movement.
HugYourHaters.com is the best place to go for the book and the socks and the course eventually and all that other kind of jazz. And then all the content that I create, my team creates, is at convinceandconvert.com. We have 6 podcasts. We have a daily email newsletter, 12 blog posts per week, all kinds of free awesome stuff. Convinceandconvert.com.
So clearly you're a slacker. You're just kind of, you have a lot of free time.
There's a lot of questions to be answered out there, my friend.
And Jay answers them all. Thank you, my friend. This was awesome. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
And, you know, we're going to hug your haters. We're going to hug your lovers. You are awesome. And we'll talk soon.
Thanks.